Hello, everyone. I'm just going to make sure the music is off here before we do anything. Yay, it looks like it is.
Got it figured out.
Forgive us, we're starting a little late, just dealing with a couple technical gremlins, and hopefully you all are ready for some good tips and insights for those of us parenting in the digital age. I am Heather McElroy.
And I am Tori Gwilt.
We're here to share parenting in the digital age. This is session 3 of our series, Parenting in the Digital Age. And we are really talking today about finding self-worth in a scroll culture. And how do we protect our identity and help our children protect their identity in a world of comparison?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to just check and make sure this is working?
Yes.
Okay, I do too.
I'd be lying if I didn't say it in the back of my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is streaming. It is live. Okay. Sorry.
This is a third time's the charm sort of session.
Oh, yes. All right. We are gremlin free. I had a little epiphany the other day that it might be because we're talking about parenting in the digital age and setting boundaries around technology, that all these little tech
The
gremlins
technology is working against us for that
they're
reason.
getting me.
Mhm.
They're getting us. Right? So we're canceling that. It's not happening. And we're going to go forward. So do you want to talk a little bit about all the sessions? And what we've done?
Yeah. So our first couple of sessions have covered setting boundaries, like Heather mentioned, kind of learning about like what's going on with the algorithm, what's going on with child's development, how are all of these connected, and what that does to our brains, to a child's brain. Also, how to talk about the boundaries, how to feel inclusive with your child so that it doesn't feel like such a power struggle, but instead feels collaborative, where they can buy in and feel like they're a part of setting the boundaries and they have the buy-in to set and to listen to those boundaries. And then, today will be all about the scroll and self-worth.
Amazing. Protect our identity. Oh,
Yes, this survey we've been promoting for each of the 3 sessions. This is for us. It can also be for those who participate. If you ever want to see like kind of a before and after, how you're feeling about the conversations, about the boundaries, about what tech looks like in your household. And then it's also for us to monitor, because we've mentioned this in other sessions. This is our pilot of this series, and so we want to be able to learn and tweak and make it the best for as we grow.
absolutely. And we want to hear from you and understand what you're dealing with at home. And man, we all are, no matter what age our children are. We're dealing with some screen issues, or finding balance and harmony and all of that. So hope you'll fill that out. Just snap that QR code there. The next slide has a QR code for our worksheet for today's session. And if you haven't already gotten that worksheet pulled up, this is what it looks like. And it's a PDF, so feel free to print that out. It's 2-sided, and it'll just give you I call it a refrigerator worksheet, because I put these on my refrigerator, and I recommend clients to put them on their refrigerator just as a reference for something that they're working on and sharing it with your kids. Like, here are some things that mom or dad are trying to do a little differently, and let's all be a part of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to welcome you and introduce you. So we have a couple boundaries in every session that Momentor Parent University offers, and it's brave of us to all be here, and it's brave of us to learn and be willing to be open to ask questions and take new steps in our parenting journey, because none of us came with a manual. Neither did our kids. So the boundaries I hold every session: safety, kindness, and non-judgment. We're not here to judge ourselves or judge our kids or judge each other.
Mm-hmm.
We're here just to offer safety and kindness and an environment to learn without judgment. Okay, today we're going to cover brain science. Tori's going to take us through some really interesting things about brain science and addiction to technology, and what screens do to our developing brains, even ours as adults, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 3 invitations is what we're going to offer you, which is pretty standard with every session, just shifting how we think, and using confidence and how we think about comparison and what emotions come up when we are parenting in this digital age.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll take that information and we will give a couple of practical tools, things, again, not only just the worksheets, but things that you can try and techniques that you can give a shot with your kid and let them feel like they're part of it too. And then one small conversation towards the end, again, just this tiny nugget of affirmation for parents. And as you're embarking on this journey, showing up and getting this information is a step anyways to show that you're trying to work with your child or trying to set these boundaries. And so just leaving it with a tiny little nugget, maybe some encouragement.
But yay!
All right, let's get into it. So one thing that's really important to remember is that it's not just about like what the children are doing online, but it is also like how much are they doing it? How much time are they spending on their devices? Because that can start to affect what the behavior around it looks like and what the habits look around it. So not just thinking about like how long are they on it, but what are they doing when they're on it or not. Thank you. That's helpful. Yes. So when they're on their screens, is it the compulsive checking? Like if nothing's even going on, do they have to have it in their hand? Are they always reaching out for it? Maybe not even with intent, like they just know that they need to be connected to it. Also, what's it like when it's time to put the phone away? Is this distressful? Not only just for like the child, but also the parents. Like, are we kind of having to walk on eggshells when we're saying it's time to put the phone away? Do we have to give a lot of warning, or is it like a huge emotional reaction? The anxiety, the irritability, like what does it look like when the phones are gone? And then how much is this interfering with day-to-day life? That includes sleep, schoolwork, family time, friendships. Like what are these interactions looking like when a phone's not around? Or are they like, is it troublesome when the phone is not around and it's being impacted? They're not being able to sleep. They're not being able to focus on their schoolwork. These are some of the habits and maybe a little bit more of like these red flag kind of signs that it's more than just like, oh, kids like being on their phone, right? Like this is now, we will talk about this later too, but it is an actual kind of like addiction. And some of these same signs. And so they need to be treated just as carefully and just as delicately in doing so, more than just like, well, it's just a phone. Why is this such a big deal? The pathways in their brain, it's signaling the same kind of thing as addiction.
Right. And I even, I had an experience. I dropped my phone in the lake last week and I realized, I don't know if I would call it an addiction. It was absolutely a dependence on my phone for so much. And there were, moments, and I kind of made jokes of it over the weekend, like, oh, I would look that up on my phone right now if I hadn't dropped it in the lake.
Right.
And there were so many moments that reminded me of my dependence as a grown-up on my phone for everything. And my social life isn't all on my phone. A lot of it is.
Right.
And I thought, well, how interesting is that? Like,
right.
The dependence piece of the addiction even.
Right. Yeah. Right. And yeah, it is distressing. It's hard to picture not being with our phones, which is kind of crazy within itself, but much harder for kids to be able to have that self-awareness if it's not being taught.
Yeah, absolutely. So watch for these as signs. These aren't an alarm that says, take their phone away immediately. These are information for us as parents to carry away about what's going on with our kiddos' brains.
Right. So why is this important? Why are setting boundaries around screens? What is this leading to if we don't? Well, the cognitive development, number one, the attention span, the executive functioning, these are all being shaped by screen habits. If you think about attention span and you think about what they're consuming online, these 5-second reels, like they're ready for new stuff. Like if it's boring within 5 seconds, they can move on to something else. That translates into life too. That's why it makes it hard to sit and focus, because it's like, yes, school can be boring. Sorry, no, not to throw school under the bus, but if they're getting bored, like that focus and that attention is already kind of like it's being shaped by how much they're on the screen and how much they're used to being able to say, nope, next, next, next. Same with social and emotional growth. If we're always in a screen and we can just type what we want to say and we don't have to read facial interactions, we don't have to have interpersonal relationships for conflict or any of these social skills, if they're not being built in person and they're becoming too dependent on the online interactions, that makes, I mean, eventually you are going to have an in-person interaction, and kids just aren't as prepared for them, which can be, you know, that's hard as you're growing up. If you can't have face-to-face interactions, you can't read someone's face as you're talking to them or saying something. So a lot of those skills are missed as well. Then we talk about the motor and physical health, right? It makes sense when we say it, but it can also be easy to not be aware of it. If we're sitting on our phone for hours and hours a day, of course, that's more sedentary and it's not as active, and we're not outside, and we're not like, you know, there's the kids say, go touch grass, right? Like they need to be outside. They need to be in the physical world. But if they're sitting on their screens, again, having all of their interactions through a screen, all of this is being affected. And that's why it makes sense too, then the sleep disruption, right? Because you're sitting down all day, you're not active, you're not getting the right kind of endorphins or any of these other, like the dopamine is coming only from the phone. And so yes, the blue light and these sort of factors already kind of suppress what's the melatonin and being able to be on a regular sleep schedule. Plus they're not as active, right? Like again, when it gets to a certain point of use, then all of these things kind of build up together. And that's why then it affects the mental health. We're not having social interactions. We're not sleeping well. We're not being active. Again, it makes sense when you say it, but it's easy to kind of like, it just kind of happens too, if you're not aware of it.
And think of it like the pot. Like sometimes when all of these things are going on and you get in the pot of water, like the frog in the pot.
Yes.
I hate to use it because I love frogs, but like when you're in a pot of water and it's cold and then the heat starts to get warmer and warmer and warmer, and after a while all of these things compound themselves.
Exactly.
Into, not a healthy place you want to be, a hot pot. Like
right. Physically and mentally, right? And then then we have, you know, anxious, depressed teens, not sure of their self-worth. They don't know where their interact or their social skills are because it's all been on the phone. So we'll talk about this a little bit more, but like something important to remember is less than 2 hours of screen time a day. That is what most research says, especially for developing brains. And one thing that gets overlooked a lot is that they're on their phones at school, or they're on screens at school. They have the Chromebooks or laptops or whatever. That is still screen time. And so it doesn't reset, oh, it's 2 hours when they get home. If their school uses screens a lot, yes, it is educational, right? It's different, but it's still the interaction with the screen and the scrolling and all of these habits. They're all still the same. Mm-hmm. So it's not like the brain knows, oh, well, that was school learning. That was school screen
reset.
Time. Right. It's not exactly doing that. And then, yes, the content does matter. Like we said, educational versus brain rot, but you're still on the screen no matter what.
Absolutely. And I think I did the wrong direction on the arrow. Doesn't that mean more than 2 hours daily?
It does.
As I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, so
flip
ignore that. We
2 hours.
It's less than 2 hours a day.
I guess you could say more than 2 hours is when it's a problem.
Yes.
That'll
there
be
we go.
Threshold. So to get into that a little bit more, like we said, it is more than 2 hours a day is concerning. Yes. Okay. So it should be less than 2 hours a day. And yes, the threshold does still count if they're at school. A big one, especially for sleep disruption, is turning those screens off at least 30 minutes, 60 minutes before sleep.
That's a big one.
Their brain is so stimulated and activated. Yes, it is the blue light, but it's also that they are still in the midst of one thing to the next. And it's hard to slow the brain down when you're ready to wind down. And
I find that even for adults too.
Yes.
I recommend some of the blue light glasses too. If you really need to be on your phone
Right.
at some point in the night, and sending my son off to college, and I'm going to send him with some non-prescription blue light glasses just to help overall with all of that screen absorption of that blue light.
Right. Right. It's disrupting. It's disrupting the brain.
Yeah, and it makes my eyes more tired.
Yeah,
like
right.
to not have the blue light glasses. Maybe it's just my imagination.
And then what they're consuming matters too. If they are watching an educational video for, you know, a 30-minute like documentary, okay, that's good. You're getting good information, they're learning. That's much different than the brain rot or the social or the gaming. Again, it depends on what's their relationship becoming, because are they scrolling or are they learning? Are they feeling like they have to be able to check? Is it the game? Is it the friends? What's pulling them to the screen? Or is it educational, and can they have a good takeaway, and then you guys can talk about it, right? Like all of these things kind of, like Heather said, it's all this big pot. And so it depends on kind of if we're thinking about cooking or whatever's happening in the frog, but it's everything that we are throwing in there that makes the final product.
Yeah, and the whole picture is more than just the amount of time.
So some tips and maybe some guidelines that you can start right away is that these excuse me, these conversations are to help guide, right? Not the, and we've talked about this in other sessions. It's not to feel punitive. It's not to feel like it's a punishment, like I'm taking this away from you because blah, 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 right? It is so that they understand why this is important. So yes, the quality does matter. And these are things that you can talk about with your kid too, and explain why these are different. Educational documentary is not the same as Roblox.
Yeah.
You know, we can make that connection pretty easily.
Just doing Snapchat for 4 hours.
Right. Scrolling on TikTok, not quite the same education. Again, the screen times, turning off before bed is an important one. And again, that can be set in the framework, not as a punishment, like you have to go to bed earlier, but hey, I noticed that you are having trouble falling asleep, or it's really hard to wake up in the morning. Let's try turning off the screens a little bit earlier so your body can regulate. Another big guideline or another big tip is to watch things together. A lot of times I hear parents say like, well, they're just on their phone. I have no idea what they're doing. Well, ask them, like, what are you watching? What is, if they are on TikTok too, show me a funny video, or is it a get ready with me, or these cool makeup tips. These can, just because they are on the screen doesn't mean that you're not in the room. So you can watch them together. It can be interactive. And again, that's a new kind of invitation. You're inviting them to tell you what interests them, as you're also inviting them to understand why the boundaries are important. So it's a give and take kind of conversation.
I have a great example of that. My niece came to me and said, have you followed me? And I was like, what are you doing? You know? And I don't remember which platform it was. And she said, I've been following this girl who shows toys. And she gives like a review of toys that she likes. And they were, girly, tween type of toys. And I thought, well, that's so interesting. So it would be like 4 up on a screen. And you would, like, after you watched her little video, you'd pick which one you thought was the coolest, or like was most that you liked the most, right? And she wanted to start doing these types of videos too. And I thought, how interesting. Like, it's fascinating to look into their world,
right,
and see what through their eyes, what is really interesting to their generation. She's Gen Alpha, right? So it's just fascinating to kind of see what's happening with it through their eyes and what they're really into, so that we can better relate to them and really understand what they are looking at too, especially when it comes to some other content. We'll talk a little more about that at the end.
But I bet she was so excited to show you. Like, that's a glimpse into her own world, and that's such a nice invitation too, to be learning about her, to watch her thrive or be passionate about something. Again, you didn't know that that was out there.
Right.
It doesn't have to be your interest to be like, wow, you really care about this, and I care that you care, sort of idea.
Yeah.
And that can be a helpful framework for these family conversations. Doing them together, watching them together. All of these are invitations to feel connected when a lot of times screens can make us feel so disconnected. So it's kind of flipping that way of thinking about screens too.
Amazing. Wow. So we have a big idea for you. Brain science is our guide, right? So our children's brains, they're still developing. We've talked about this in each of our sessions in this series. Screens aren't neutral, and they're not the enemy either. They're going to be a part of our lives and a part of our children's lives, no matter what. So really what we would like to help guide on is to understand how we use those in a healthy way, and when we use them, and what conversations we can have around them so that we can be connected. And I always say, now you are the most important app in your child's life when it comes to parenting in the digital age. And remember that, and remember, when you're on your phone, when your child jumps in the car and absorbed in something, they're noticing that about you, and they're probably going to mimic or have a similar behavior the next time you walk in their bedroom, or even in that moment when they see that you're just absorbed in your phone, they'll get absorbed in theirs, right? So we get to be the most important app in our children's lives.
Such a good point. Many a child has said, well, why do I have to give up my phone if mom and dad can't? And I think that that's an important takeaway too. Because it's a fair question, right?
Yes. It's the health of the whole family when it comes to digital. Cool. All right, we're going to jump into some invitations for us as parents. And these are just small mindset shifts that create really big change in our homes. And as always, I'll do 3 invitations, and then we'll go through 3 tools that could help us go through these. They're not demands. We don't want to ask parents to be perfect, because we're all perfectly imperfect, right? We're asking for some direction, some guidance. So invitation number 1 is going to be confidence as self-trust. Taking confidence as performance to confidence as self-trust. And when our kids perform for an audience, even a digital one, they start to outsource their sense of okayness. And our job is to help them re-anchor internally and trust themselves. So invitation number 2 is to be literate about our comparison culture that we're living in, and not avoid it. It's there. It's not going away, I don't think, anytime soon. Although there are some cases that are happening in the world, and we'll just kind of reference that and invite you to keep tabs on what's going on with Meta and all of that to better understand. I think some of these companies are being held accountable, especially for their influence on our children, their brains. So we can't bubble wrap our kids from comparison. However, we can help them become fluent in what they're seeing and why it affects them, right? So going from avoidance of comparison to understanding and being literate of comparison. Invitation number 3, instead of just ignoring it, let's process, let's name those feelings that are happening with us. And the emotions that are pushed down, they don't disappear. They don't go away. They just go underground. And in my parenting journey, I have been really, really happy to always allow whatever emotions. Not all behaviors are okay. All emotions are okay. All feelings are okay. And really to connect with my son in that way. And I've seen a lot of clients, a lot of friends who are kind of not being open to hearing what's going on, or ignoring some of that emotional processing that their kiddos are going through. And they don't go away. Those feelings don't go away for our kids. They don't go away for us either if we're feeling, if we're just ignoring our emotions when we see a post or we see something that really gets into our heart and our soul, right? So so work with the named feelings and allow those. And the emotions that go underground are not healthy for anyone.
And they'll find an outlet, whether it's the parent or someone else.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of goes with, it's not going to go away, but can you help them with it?
Yep. Be collaborative. Right.
Okay, so this is kind of going to what Heather was just mentioning when we start talking about the algorithm. But number one, when we are looking at like highlight reels, it's important to remember that these are highlight reels, right? These are nice curated pictures that people are looking or posting because it's the best version of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that does, of course, invite comparison. It's hard not to, but naming it helps demystify it a little bit or takes away some of the comparison. So to be able to use part of education to say that is someone's highlight reel, it's not their whole story, just like anybody else's, right? That doesn't give the full picture. And then explaining the algorithm. Why are you seeing the things that you are seeing? To explain this to kids is huge. And like Heather mentioned, the case, a lot of these social media companies are now being held liable, right? And accountable is maybe another good word for it, because they know what they're doing, and the case has basically proved that. They know that the younger that they can get a kid, that's a lifelong customer basically. And so explaining that too, like, this is why you're feeling this way, or this helps explain why you want to stay on for 5 more minutes, or one more video, right? And to help them recognize this is what's calling them in. It's getting more clicks, and then your brain starts to get used to it. So having that awareness can help start putting that boundary off and turning things off.
Yeah. Can I jump in with that?
Yeah, of
just
course.
one thing that I always think about too with the algorithm is it's going to change constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And I invite you to bring your child into the conversation and the research on what's
Mm-hmm.
happening in the algorithm at this moment. You know, you could have looked at it a month ago or 3 months ago and discover something different is happening in your social media feed, 3 months later,
Mm-hmm.
and research that together. Like, what's happening? Has the algorithm changed? What are they doing now? It changes so frequently that it's best to be educated in it. And it's also great to collaborate with your kid
Mm-hmm.
or your children or whoever you're talking with about, maybe it's your friends and you're all noticing some algorithm changes. Like, research that together and be more educated in what the algorithm is and what it's doing.
Right.
Because like, even if we were to give you a device out, here's what the algorithm is doing today,
Mm-hmm.
a month down the road, it would be different.
Right.
So yeah, use your resources and AI like Perplexity, or you can use ChatGPT, even just Google and find like what's happening in the algorithm at that moment and specific to maybe the platform that you're thinking of.
Because I'm sure all of them will change.
Yes,
very rapidly,
all the time.
And that's a perfect segue into the curiosity question. What do you think was happening right before or right after this photo was taken? Again, the curiosity of what the algorithm is doing, the curiosity of that, even setting the framework of, if you're looking at other pictures, that these are just, again, snapshots of people's lives, right? And there's a bigger story to be told through what you're getting in the highlight reel.
So true. I think of that beginning of the Jumanji movie with The Rock in it, that version. And the girl at the beginning was like taking a selfie with her cup of coffee, and she like twists the cup of coffee and she's like, oh, morning wake up, fresh out of bed or whatever. But she had already like done her makeup and her hair and
I'm sure like hundreds of pictures to choose from.
Oh my goodness. Isn't that so funny? But yeah, there's you never know what's really going on when someone's posting things.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, our second tool is going to talk to you about naming that feeling, not the platform. And so this is really kind of about blame, right? So we're going to focus on the emotions that social media is triggering in us and not the app itself. And this works because blaming Instagram or Facebook or whatever is not going to help, right? Understanding those feelings. I felt left out when I saw all my friends were at the ice cream shop together and I hadn't been invited. I saw all these pictures of my friends going out on the lake and floating, and I wanted to be there. I couldn't be there, whatever. Like when you've kind of understand those feelings that you're having about a post are not about Instagram itself. So we just get to kind of look inside a little bit, right? And once you understand what the feeling is, then we can work with that. Even if our child says, I hate Instagram, all my friends are, at the ice cream shop without me, right? Well, it's not about Instagram. It's about the feeling that they have. And we can help guide them into understanding it's the feeling that you're having there. What are you feeling? So we'll have some questions here that are good conversation starters to help that. And once we understand the feeling, that's something we can work with, right? We can't work with, oh, well, let's shut down Instagram, right?
Right.
Because all our friends are doing stuff without us, right? When children can name what that feeling is, then they can start to separate their self-worth from that Instagram post, from the scroll, from what they're feeling. They're feeling from their self-worth. So a great couple of conversation starters, like how did you feel when you saw that all your friends were at the ice cream shop together? Give them space. That's a moment to process what those feelings really, really are. Did scrolling tonight leave you feeling full, or did it leave you feeling kind of empty? And you can even share examples of yourself. I saw all the moms in the neighborhood got together for wine at Jessica's house, and I didn't get invited. I understand. I feel kind of left out too. And when I see social media posts, it brings up feelings for me. We can give those examples to our kids. What emotion came up when you saw that post? That your friends did a video of you, and you feel embarrassed by that video, or maybe you had a smear on your pants and someone took a picture and posted it and everyone commented, right? Those can be really embarrassing moments. And it's not like back in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up where, someone would just say, oh, Heather has something on her pants. And then everyone would talk about it throughout the day, even if you put your jacket over your pants, right? But now there's a photo of it and it goes out into the universe, right? And everyone can see what the brown smear Heather had on her pants, and how embarrassing, and all the comments, and that just really can affect our self-worth if we aren't really understanding it's not about the platform, it's just about the feelings that we're having inside, right? And is that a feeling we can talk about together? What a open door for a kiddo to have, or even a friend to have, if they're feeling embarrassed or upset, or like their self-worth is challenged based on something that they saw. Yeah. Anything else about that?
No, I think you said it really well. Yeah, the naming the feeling can help be empowering for them.
Yes.
And feel a little bit more in control, even if it is a yucky feeling. Just being able to talk about it takes a little bit of that back.
Right. It helps us just have time to process that emotion, that feeling. All right. Tool number 3 is our offline identity builder. So I love this idea, and I think it's really valuable. I'm a total outdoor girl, so my choice is often of an offline identity builder is often outside. One weekly activity. Choose one with your child. Don't choose it for them. That reinforces your child's identity away from a screen. Maybe it's gymnastics class. Maybe it's, the martial arts. Maybe it's just going for a walk in the neighborhood. Maybe it's caring for their dog and giving their dog a bath and a walk. What these are building for our kiddos is competence and belonging and autonomy. These are really important for our children as they grow their identity to be competent at things, activities where they can become good at something. Cooking. My son loves to cook, and I've watched through the years as he's gotten better and better at it. And he literally will say, "Oh, I'll cook. He likes his cooking better than his mom." So I'm a little hurt by that, but not totally, because I love that he cooks really well and cooks for me. We've encouraged that in him, and and sometimes he even is taking pictures of what he's created, and I think that's building competence and posting that. I don't know, whatever his channel is that he's posting it on. I'm not allowed to follow it, so. Yeah, so a belonging experiences where they feel a part of something real, a team, a family ritual, some kind of a community group, a neighborhood group of friends, anything that helps them create that sense of identity in the group, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then autonomy, moments where they can make real choices and and feel the results. Maybe they are caring for their dog, like I said, giving their dog a bath. Maybe they decided to take on a new club at school. Whatever their interest draws them to, and allowing them autonomy to go into that idea or going into that interest, right? An area of life that's genuinely theirs to manage and to enjoy, right? So one activity, 1 week, once a week, that's all I'm asking. Doesn't have to be big, it just has to be theirs.
So one conversation, this tiny little nugget that we want to encourage or to help implement this week is understanding how social media feels, right? Putting that emotion on it. Again, taking some more empowerment, feeling a little bit more control over it. We're shifting the focus from screen time battles, right? Feeling like it's a give and take, or I have to do this as a punishment, but these are actually like bids for connection, emotional connection. Um, and and it's not going to happen overnight, right? Like it's not going to be like, oh well, we had a really nice conversation and now they never want their phone anymore, right? But it's building the habits, not just about the use of the phone, but also about the inner experience.
Like phone hygiene.
Yeah, right.
Or digital hygiene.
Right, right. And all of these little moments, all of these tiny little nuggets that you're able to implement in different places, it's the same idea as the boiling water, right? But it's a good boil. it's a good feeling, or we're getting it just warm enough because it's opening the door for when these things are really hard, that your child already knows that they can come and talk to you about it. Or if they are having an upsetting time or a hard time or a struggle, they already know that these are conversations that are ongoing for you guys, instead of feeling like it's this huge new thing, this huge overhaul, or they feel too isolated within their phone to be comfortable to know how to put their feelings into words and have a conversation about it.
And this is especially becoming more poignant too with some of the cases that are going on. And also, someone I've been following, the family IT guy, who is doing a lot of um, research and commentary around understanding some of the sexual predators in our children's games and things like that, that can really be scary and detrimental to what's going on with our kids. And I talk about not letting technology really like be a scary thing for us because it's here, but this connection that you're developing with your your child, is what's going to help them know when a predator
Mm.
would approach them, like this isn't safe conversation, right. This isn't a
Right.
safe person, right? So I am gonna, just the tiny nugget we hope you'll take away is just to have one conversation about how social media feels to you and to your child, and not how much time is spent on it this
Mhm.
week.
Mm-hmm.
And really, understanding and opening up that dialogue between you. Parenting is hard, and we're each, as I said earlier, perfectly imperfect humans. Control is really tempting at times. Just had a conversation with a mom who was taking her son's device away. He had a ISS, in school suspension today. He's a senior, and I think he's got a little senioritis. She mentioned that as well. And one of the things that she did was to take away his device, because the device is what he got in trouble using in class. And we talked about the consequence being relative to the behavior that he got in trouble for, and that's not being controlling. That's helping with the consequence and helping connect the behavior with the consequence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah, good
Just popped into
example.
my head.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for showing up bravely today for your kids and for yourselves. Yeah. Talk about this one?
Yeah. These are just some links on how you can follow along, stay connected with us, ask questions. We want to continue this conversation. It's not just these 3 sessions and done. Like we mentioned, we want to be able to make this into something that is helpful for parents. This is our tester, this is our pilot, and so we want to grow from it. So you can find us at all of these, scan these QR codes or whatever, and get connected with us.
Awesome. Yep, we've got a few of the authors and resources that we've referenced, or that we've tapped into in our practices, and how we handle talking with the families that we work with around digital health and digital hygiene. And we hope you'll continue to consider what this looks like in your home and what you need as far as support is. And Tori and I both work with families. We both coach, um, and she's a counselor and helps families and teens and tweens kind of dealing with this big technology beast that we all know and love. So we hope we'll share this with some friends too, and please give us feedback. We do really want to make this an ongoing group, whether it's virtual or hybrid or only an in-person type of group, to really support parents and families in this digital age. All right.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.